She looked like an ordinary passenger, quiet and tired. Nobody knew her true name. When the engine suddenly exploded at 30,000 feet, she calmly walked toward the cockpit. Minutes later, two F-22 jets broke strict radio silence just to say one word, Phoenix. What happened next saved 200 innocent lives. Flight Horizon 217 left Denver at 6:45 in the morning, heading to Chicago with 200 people on board. The sky was clear, the plane was full, and nothing seemed unusual. Business travelers opened their laptops. A young mother rocked her baby to sleep. An old man read a newspaper by the window. Maya sat near the back, her eyes closed, her mind far away from airplanes and emergencies. She had spent the last 2 weeks testing a new fighter jet at a secret base in Nevada, and all she wanted now was rest. Maya was not an ordinary passenger. She was one of the top test pilots in the United States Air Force. Few people outside her small circle knew her call sign, Phoenix. She had earned that name years ago, after she brought back a burning aircraft that everyone thought was already lost. Her hands had guided broken machines through fire and failure more times than she could count. But today, she wore jeans and sneakers, not a flight suit. Today, she was supposed to be just Maya. 40 minutes into the flight, she felt something change. It was small, almost nothing. A tiny shift in the sound of the engines. A faint shake in the floor under her feet. Most passengers did not notice it at all. But Maya's ears had been trained for years to catch exactly this kind of change. Her whole body went alert. She opened her eyes and sat up straight, listening carefully to every sound around her. A voice came over the speaker. It was the captain, calm but firm. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is Captain Reeves speaking. We have a small issue with our right engine. We are going to make some adjustments. Please stay in your seats with your belts fastened." His voice sounded steady, but Maya could hear something underneath it. Worry. Real worry. She was right to worry. In the cockpit, Captain Daniel Reeves and First Officer Priya Nair were staring at a wall of warning lights. The right engine's temperature was rising fast, faster than it should. Oil pressure was falling. A strange smell of burning metal started to reach the cabin through the air vents. "Temperature is climbing past safe limits," Priya said, her voice tight. "We need to shut it down now." Reeves nodded and began the shutdown steps he had practiced many times in training but never in real life. Before he could finish, the engine gave a loud bang. Metal pieces tore through the wing casing. The whole plane shook hard, like a giant hand had grabbed it and shaken it once. Warning alarms filled the cockpit. Reeves fought to keep the plane level as it began pulling hard to one side. "We've lost the right engine completely," he shouted over the noise. "I'm seeing damage everywhere." Priya's hands moved fast across the panel. "Hydraulics are dropping. We have a fuel leak in the right wing. Electrical systems are failing too." The exploding engine had done more than just stop working. Broken metal pieces had cut through fuel lines, damaged wires, and torn at the controls that helped steer the plane. What was once one of the safest aircraft in the sky was now a wounded giant, struggling to stay in the air. "Declare an emergency," Reeves said. Priya grabbed the radio. "Mayday, mayday, mayday. This is Horizon 217. We have suffered an engine failure with major system damage. We need immediate help." Air traffic control answered fast. "Horizon 217, we copy your mayday. The nearest airport is Kansas City International. Turn right, heading 090. Emergency crews are being called now." But even as Reeves turned the plane, both pilots knew the airport was still far away, and the plane was losing height quickly. In the cabin, passengers felt the shaking grow worse. Oxygen masks dropped from above the seats. The smell of smoke grew stronger. People gripped their armrests. A child began to cry. Some passengers called their families. Others closed their eyes and prayed. Fear spread through the cabin like a cold wind. Maya sat still for a moment, feeling everything through her body the way she had been trained to. The plane was not flying normally. It was fighting to stay up, and losing. She unbuckled her seatbelt. A flight attendant named Carla rushed toward her. "Ma'am, please sit down. We need everyone in their seats." Maya looked at her calmly. "I'm a military pilot. I think I can help the crew. Please let me speak to the captain." Carla paused, studying her face. There was something in Maya's eyes, a kind of calm that did not match the panic around them. "Follow me," Carla said. They moved forward through the shaking cabin. Maya knocked on the cockpit door. "Captain, this is Maya Ellison, United States Air Force. I have experience with emergency flying. Let me help." The door opened almost at once. Reeves looked back at her, sweat on his forehead, his arms shaking from the effort of holding the controls steady. "Get in. Please." Maya stepped inside and quickly saw the full picture. Priya was working hard through emergency checklists, her voice shaking but focused. Warning lights covered every screen. The plane's nose kept trying to drop, and Reeves had to pull back hard just to keep it level. "Give me your status," Maya said, her voice calm and clear. "Right engine gone completely," Reeves answered. "Left engine still running but damaged. Hydraulics almost gone. Fuel leaking from the right wing. Controls barely responding." Maya's mind moved fast, the way it always did during a crisis. She had flown broken aircraft before, planes that were never supposed to stay in the air. She knew that fighting a damaged plane the normal way often made things worse. The trick was to work with the damage, not against it. "Listen to me," she said. "Forget the normal way of flying this plane. It's too damaged for that. We're going to treat it like an aircraft in a flight test, not a passenger jet." "I don't understand," Reeves said. "You don't need to understand everything right now. Just follow my instructions exactly. Reduce power on the left engine to about 70%. We'll use the uneven power to help us turn instead of fighting it." Reeves obeyed, and almost at once, the plane felt slightly easier to hold. That actually helped," he said, surprised. "Now use the trim wheel for pitch, not the main controls. The hydraulics are too weak for big movements. Small, slow changes only." For the next several minutes, Maya guided Reeves through moves that were not in any pilot handbook. She had learned these methods over years of testing damaged and experimental aircraft, planes that were built to explore the edge of what flight could survive. She knew how to read a plane's small signals and respond before problems grew worse. Meanwhile, far above them, two F-22 fighter jets were flying a training mission over the same stretch of sky. Major Grace Kim, call sign Falcon, and Captain Ryan Osei, call sign Blade, were practicing silent formation flying, a mission that required them to stay off the radio completely unless it was truly necessary. Their advanced sensors, however, could still listen to civilian emergency channels even while they kept their own radios silent. "Falcon, are you hearing this emergency call on 121.5? Blade said over their private, secure channel. "I've been listening for the last 10 minutes, Falcon answered. "Whoever is helping that pilot knows things that regular airline training doesn't teach. Listen to those instructions. That's test pilot language." Their radar screens showed the wounded plane moving in a strange but controlled way, holding altitude better than damage reports should allow. Falcon had once trained as a test pilot herself before joining fighter squadrons, and she recognized the pattern immediately. "Someone in that cockpit is flying it like an experimental aircraft," she said. "That's not luck. That's skill." "Do we break silence?" Blade asked. It was a hard choice. Breaking radio silence during a classified training flight could bring serious consequences. But 200 lives were on that plane, and someone up there clearly needed every bit of support they could offer. "We break silence," Falcon said. "Lives come first." She switched to the emergency channel. "Horizon 217, this is Falcon Flight, 2 F-22 aircraft nearby. We are seeing advanced control techniques from your crew. Can you confirm who is assisting your pilot?" Inside the cockpit, Reeves looked surprised. Maya reached for the radio herself. "Falcon Flight, this is Maya Ellison, call sign Phoenix, United States Air Force test pilot. I am assisting the crew with emergency procedures." There was a short silence on the radio. Nobody spoke for almost 5 seconds. In the cockpit, Priya glanced at Maya, confused by the pause. Reeves kept his eyes on the controls, but even he could feel that something important had just happened. Then Falcon's voice returned, and this time it was different. It was no longer just professional. It carried real shock and real respect. "Phoenix. Captain Ellison. Ma'am, we studied your test reports back at flight school. Your work on damaged aircraft control changed how we train pilots today." Blade's voice joined in right after, just as amazed. "Ma'am, this is Captain Osei. Your research helped design the emergency procedures that saved my life during a training accident 2 years ago. I never thought I would actually hear your voice on a radio." Reeves looked over at Maya with wide eyes. He had known she was skilled, but he had not understood, until this exact moment, that the woman sitting beside him was already a legend among military pilots. Priya whispered, almost to herself, "You're that Phoenix." Maya gave a small nod but said nothing more. There was no time for pride. 200 people were still depending on her. Maya felt a rush of pride mixed with pressure. But there was no time to think about the past. "Thank you, Falcon Flight, but right now I need help getting this aircraft safely on the ground. We have 200 people counting on us." "Understood completely, Phoenix. We're coordinating with air traffic control now. You'll have full priority and support all the way to landing." The 2 F-22 jets used their fast communication systems to alert every nearby agency. Emergency crews at Kansas City were told to prepare for the worst. Other planes were moved out of the way. Military teams stood ready in case rescue was needed. Back in the cockpit, Maya kept guiding Reeves through the descent. The plane was flying at a strange angle, not like a normal landing approach, but exactly the kind of angle needed to keep control with damaged systems. Every move had to be slow, careful, and exact. "We're descending too fast," Priya warned, watching the numbers drop. "That's expected," Maya said. "With this much drag from the damage, we can't glide the normal way. Trust the numbers. We built in enough room." As Kansas City's runway came into view, Maya prepared Reeves for the hardest part. "This landing will not feel normal. Approach speed will be higher than usual to keep control. Do exactly what I say, the moment I say it." "I'm with you, Commander," Reeves said, his voice steady now despite the fear still in his eyes. The final approach was tense. The plane shook and pulled to one side, fighting against Reeves' hands even as he followed Maya's careful instructions. Wheels touched the runway hard but steady. The plane bounced once, then settled and began to slow, using the remaining engine's power and careful braking to avoid disaster. It rolled to a stop just before the end of the runway. Fire trucks and ambulances surrounded it within seconds. Passengers rushed down the emergency slides, coughing but alive. Every single person on Horizon 217 survived. Some had minor injuries from the shaking and smoke, but no one was lost. Outside, the 2 F-22 jets circled once more before turning back toward their base. Falcon made one last call. "Phoenix, what you did today will be remembered. It was an honor flying near you." "The honor was mine," Maya answered. "Thank you for breaking silence to help us." The story of Horizon 217 spread across the news within hours. Videos from passengers' phones showed the terrifying shaking of the plane, followed by the surprising, steady landing that saved everyone aboard. At first, few people knew who had guided the crew through the crisis. The military kept her name quiet while officials reviewed exactly what had happened, including the F-22 pilot's choice to break silence during their training mission. Weeks later, after full investigations by aviation safety officials and the Air Force, the full story came out. Every action was found to be justified, from Maya's unusual flying methods to the fighter pilot's decision to step in. Officials praised the F-22 pilots for choosing human life over secrecy, calling it a model example of good judgment under pressure. Maya was honored for her actions and returned to her work as a test pilot, but she also began teaching new lessons to airline pilots across the country. Her methods for handling badly damaged aircraft became part of official training programs, giving commercial pilots new tools they never had before. Captain Reeves stayed close friends with Maya after that day. He often told new pilots about the quiet woman who appeared out of nowhere and turned an impossible flight into a safe landing. He always ended the story the same way: sometimes the people who save us are sitting quietly beside us, waiting until the moment they are truly needed. Passengers from Horizon 217 never forgot her either. Many of them tried to find out more about the quiet woman in the gray hoodie who had walked calmly to the front of a shaking plane. A few managed to send letters through the airline, thanking her, telling her how her calm voice, heard faintly through the cockpit door, had somehow made them feel less afraid even as the plane shook around them. Maya read every letter, though she rarely replied. She always said the credit belonged to Reeves and Priya, who had stayed strong and trusted her instructions even when those instructions made no sense to them. Falcon and Blade were never punished for breaking radio silence that day. Instead, their choice became a case study taught to new fighter pilots, a lesson about when rules must bend for something greater. Falcon later said in an interview that the hardest part of that day was not flying in silence for hours. It was the 5 seconds of silence after hearing the name Phoenix, when she realized exactly who she was talking to and exactly how much was at stake. And somewhere above the clouds, Maya kept flying, kept testing new aircraft, and kept learning new ways to bring broken machines home safely, because that had always been her job, long before anyone on that plane ever learned her name.